Thank you for your patience. Welcome to the Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, January 17th, 2024. The Wareham Conservation Commission is holding a meeting under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and/or the Town of Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw Division 6 and any other applicable laws on Wednesday, January 17th, 2024 at 6 p.m. All matters listed may involve a decision and possible vote. All hearings of the Wareham Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw Division 6. Although a single decision of the Commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. Okay, introduce, roll call, please. Start with Donna.
Donna Colbert. Paula Jean O'Neill.
Autumn Wood.
Sandy Slavin.
Kwame Body.
Michael Mercier.
Joseph Still.
Joshua Faraday.
I think we're all here. Kwame, can you read the first hearing, please?
Yes, ma'am. This is a request for notice of intent for Russell McKinnon, 28 Nelson Street, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to raise an existing house at 28 Nelson Street, increase the size of the dwelling by 280 square feet, and create a 10-foot wide gravel drive. And this is on map 78, lot 3-197, 28 Nelson Street, Wareham, Mass.
Is there anybody here representing this project? Anybody online, John?
Nobody's raising their hand.
I'd like a motion to table.
Motion on table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we're 500. We're table and see if maybe someone may come in at 6:30, our usual time. Next one, please.
This is a request for notice of intent for Derek Lewis, 75 Agawam Lakeshore Drive, Wareham, Mass. 02571. This is regards to renovations of a single-family dwelling, upgrade the septic system, and associate site grading. And this is on map 129A-1, lot 124, 75 Agawam Lakeshore Drive, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Anybody here for this project?
Yeah, there is someone online.
Okay. Right. Please identify yourself.
Hi. Good evening. I'm Pat Carrara from PMP Consulting, representing Derek Lewis.
I think I heard Pat, but I didn't hear the last name.
Sorry, Carrara.
Spell
I'm
it.
PMP Consulting.
Pat, can you spell your last name for us?
Sure. C-A-R-R-A-R-A.
Thank you. Okay, Pat, you're up. Talk to us about the project.
All right, so what we have here is we have an existing dwelling on Agawam Lakeshore Drive. The owner of the property, Derek Lewis, would wish to renovate the home in the same footprint that it currently exists. Currently, the site is served by a cesspool shown at the rear of the lot within the 30-foot no activity buffer. So we've proposed to reconstruct the dwelling on the same footprint. We're providing a new septic system with a single air 960-600 denitrification tank and a new leaching system in the front yard, basically as far away as we could get it from the pond. You can see that the actual leaching system is outside the 100-foot buffer to the pond in the wetland. It's a concrete chamber system, a couple of flow diffusers with some stone around it. We did the soil testing with the health agent, had really good soil, got a good perk rate, and we don't have any issues with groundwater up in the front. So that's what we're proposing here. We have the work area surrounded by erosion control barrier. We have some just minor changes in grade, just to provide cover over the new septic tank. And that's what we have. So I'd be more than happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Josh, your comments, please.
This is an upgrade of a cesspool, and I think it meets all the provisions of our bylaw.
It does say renovations of a single-family dwelling. What are you planning to do to the dwelling?
So the existing dwelling right now sits on an old, it's a old stone and block foundation that's deteriorating. It's not structurally sound anymore. So they're actually going to lift the dwelling, pour a new foundation underneath it, and then reset the dwelling on top of the new foundation. And then everything else that will be done to the dwelling will be cosmetic renovations.
My question is, will the changes to the dwelling exceed 50% of the value of the property of the house?
I don't believe so, and I don't have that information.
Do you know why I'm asking?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Do you know why I'm asking?
Is it in relation to the pond? Or,
Yes, I believe if you would do more than 50% renovation, you have to raise the house out of the flood zone.
oh, well, that is part of it, yes. So, I'm sorry, I kind of missed that, but yes, the existing top of foundation's at elevation 28.4. The new elevation, the top of foundation will be 30.4. The elevation of the flood zone around the pond is at 13.
Thank you. We just had another project in which they didn't know it, and now they have to take the house up 20-some-odd feet. But I just wanted to make sure that was okay. We'll go around and ask questions. Donna, I'm going to start with you so I don't forget you.
Thank you. I don't have any questions, though. Thank you.
Paula Jean.
Well, I went out and took a look at it, and I thought, wow, this house is practically in the water. It's so close. And they've got a cinder block wall. It's like at the edge of the water, this kind of crumpling, falling in, and there are lots of boats stored on the shore.
Oh, yes.
You know, it started looking like, uh-oh, there's one really nice big oak right there. I want to know, first of all, is that oak going to remain untouched? I don't believe you can do anything to it.
If there's a big oak tree on this, it's not actually on our property, so we wouldn't be touching it.
Okay. And there were some other, I couldn't tell because it's winter and I need leaves to identify a lot of plants, but there were two shrub-type small trees also right at the very edge of the water, and I didn't know about those. I was just concerned about any vegetation that is there not getting killed off. When I read the proposal, I saw how it said something about the discharges from dewatering or excavations will not be diverted into any wetlands or storm drains without pre-treatment. Does that mean after it's pre-treated, you would put it in a glass and have a drink of it? Is it like, were you gonna dump it in the water, or tell me about
No,
that?
that's a statement that the contractors know that if they do encounter, and I don't believe they will encounter any water during this process based on our soil testing and the elevation of the pond. But that's a statement to let the contractor know that, hey, if you have a foundation hole and it rains and it's got water in it, you can't just pump it right into the pond. You've got to treat it first before you discharge it.
But you can treat it
So-
and then dump it in the pond? How is it
So-
treated? What would make that be water that wouldn't be mega yuck before it gets...
So they could do several methods. They could use a dewatering pit. They can use what they call a dirt bag, which is an accepted method. They pump it into basically a very fine mesh burlap bag, which screens out any of the fines and sediments before it's discharged.
And then it's really clean enough that's not like... And I was also thinking that the old septic tank or cesspool, whatever it is that's coming out, does that have water in it? I was picturing some liquid contained in whatever's getting dragged out of the
No,
ground.
if there's water in the cesspool, it would be groundwater currently because the house is not occupied.
Oh, how long?
So the cesspool will just get, if there's anything in there, it will get pumped out and then the cesspool will be filled in.
Okay. It just kind of hit me as sounded a bit
So
disgusting.
it'll be pumped out by a professional
Yes,
septic hauler?
yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
All right. Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
Kwame?
Sorry. What is the grading level in the back of the house? I couldn't see that.
The existing grade at the back of the house is 23, and that's going to remain as is. We're not proposing to change the grade behind the house.
Okay. And then as far as the, when you're raising the level of the house, you're going to have some kind of, are you going to put new gutters and all that other good stuff?
Yeah, they're gonna modernize the house. It's basically one of the typical old cottages that was down there that's not been renovated for a long, long time.
Okay. Thank you.
Michael?
Yes, when I was back there right now, I noticed there were maybe 2 or 3 boats pretty close to the water right now at the moment. Are those too close to be stored at the water right now?
They're on the water's edge, so part of my notes will say they've got to be brought up to upland. But that's,
just what I
we
was
can put in
wondering.
our order of conditions that the boats will never be stored on the beach.
Yeah, that's just what I was wondering there. That's all. Thank you.
Joe?
Is there a dock on the property right now? I know I went out there. I didn't see one, but there is
No.
one on the plan.
No, there's a couple of concrete retaining walls. There's one right at the limit of work at the erosion control. And then, as you guys know, there's a secondary concrete block wall down where the wetland line is associated with the pond, but there's no dock.
Okay. Yeah, because it's right here on the
I'm
plan.
sorry, there is. I apologize. There is an old dock. We're showing it on the plan there. And I probably have pictures of it.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't see it when I was out there, but
They may have removed it because they were in the process of cleaning the place up when we were doing the soil testing.
okay. All right, no further questions from me.
Thank you. My question is that, Kwame brought it up, but I will ask for it. Can we have some type of stormwater retention basins or something like that to take the runoff from the roof? Because I don't see anything on the plan to tell me I have a place to take that roof runoff and not just drain it into the pond.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the nature of these properties down there, as I'm sure you're aware, there's really no place to do that except behind the house within your 30-foot no activity zone. And the area above that concrete retaining wall is pretty well vegetated with lawn and whatnot. And unfortunately, there's really not much we can do also with the proximity of the septic system.
Yeah, but can't you put in some dry wells?
We could, but the dry wells have to be a certain distance away from the septic system, which we really can't meet with the water service coming in the front. We can't do them right adjacent to the foundation. We'd have to do them out in the rear.
Okay. Now, next to where I think that cesspool is, there is a tree stump. Do you plan to remove that?
I think it's right about where that cursor is. Is that where you're pointing?
Either that or closer to the lot line. It was hard. I couldn't see where the cesspool was. I couldn't see a cap.
Yeah, it was buried under some brush and stuff. But I think you're right. I think there is an old tree stump over there. That would probably get removed when the cesspool was filled in.
And therefore get filled in by this, whoever's going to deactivate that cesspool? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm certainly very pleased to see one less cesspool on an edge of a water.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is there anybody in the audience would like to comment on this project? Any other questions on the board?
Make a motion to close the hearing?
I have a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. The hearing is closed. Josh, your recommendation?
If I'm hearing the commission correctly, we have a condition of no boats to be stored within the 30-foot no activity buffer to the pond. It sounds like the ability to put in a dry well isn't feasible due to the water line in the front. No vegetation shall be removed along the pond edge. And, I would question the legitimacy of the dock, whether it has a Chapter 91 license or not. I believe Mill Pond is a great pond. I might have to double check that, though.
So we say no dock until they can confirm 91?
Or that Mill Pond isn't considered a great pond in the state
Okay.
of Massachusetts. It could go either way. I'm not sure whether Mill Pond is or not.
All right. All right. That's the recommendation for the standard order of conditions plus the 3 additions.
So moved?
I have a motion
Second?
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. It is done, so Pat, you got it. Don't do anything until you work with Josh to get the paperwork.
Fantastic. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, and have a fantastic night.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Are you here for McKinnon? In the back?
28 Nelson?
Yes. Can you come forward, please? I'd like a motion to untable 28 Nelson Street.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Abstain? No. I don't think you need to read it again since we untabled it, so. Please come forward and have a seat and identify yourself, because we've already read your hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it started at 6:30.
That's why we tabled it, because we just changed it to 6 last week. We had don't apologize for that. We're so used to 6:30 for years. That is changed, so.
I guess I printed up the old agenda, I'm sorry. So I'm Jason Youngquist from Outback Engineering, here to represent the applicant.
Okay, Jason, wait a second. I need the spelling of that last name.
Ready?
Your last name, can you spell it? Yeah.
Youngquist.
Thank you. All right, you're up. Talk to us about this project, please.
All right, so this is an existing cottage at 28 Nelson Street, and it's in disrepair. It's sitting in a lawned area, but unfortunately, it's all wetlands, and the new homeowner would like to upgrade it. Well, essentially build a new house in place of the existing one. Raise it up on stilts, get it above the flood elevation. Again, it's all lawn, utilize the existing lawn area. Keep everything else at grade, so we're not raising the grade or anything like that. Right now, there's just a lawned access to get there. So convert that, put a gravel base down. Again, at the same elevation, so we're not changing the grades of anything. Just so when they drive out there, we're not chewing it all up and making a mess every time they drive out there. That was about it. So the new house would be on pilings. We're gonna move it back onto the lot. As you can see, the existing house, cottage, sticks across the lot line. So we're gonna move it onto the lot, so it actually is on the correct property, and raise it up in the air.
How high?
So the flood elevation is 14, so it's got to go up about 9 feet.
14 is only 9 feet high? What's the flood zone? What's the
So it's flood zone, it's 14.
14?
Existing grades at 5, 6.
Okay. All right, Josh, your comment.
A few comments. The commission has held pretty firm on their 30-foot no activity zone. So the gravel drive, which, from what we can see of the plan, it appears the wetland runs along, I think it's Alfred.
So if you could switch to the other outback
Yeah.
plan,
Let me pull up the other one.
'cause that'll show the whole driveway.
Okay. So from the proposal, the Bisbee paved section of road stops, somewhere over here. You're proposing to extend the 10-foot gravel road along the wetland line. Like I said, wetland flag number 1 is somewhere in the middle of the Wildland Trust, parcel there, but it probably runs more to the north than that as well. So there are provisions within the bylaw to allow for construction of access through a wetland to an upper portion of upland on a property, except your road is extending to the middle of the wetland. So I don't think it meets the exception of the bylaw in that regard. And then the commission has also taken a stance on the expansion of structures, whether it be in wetland, which is really the first one that I've seen, but within our 30-foot no activity zone as well. Normally they would allow for the reconstruction of the structure within the similar footprint. You can't put it in a similar footprint here because you're technically not on your own lot. So one of my recommendations would be to just turn the dwelling from where it sits, maybe whatever it may be, 70 degrees or so to get, onto the property. And, in realizing doing that, you're probably gonna have to remove some trees. There's a couple of decent pine trees right to the north of the existing structure. And I would, make the recommendation to the commission that those get replanted somewhere else on the property.
So there is upland. There is upland available?
No,
None?
there is a tiny
triangle.
corner right here that you probably couldn't even park a car on.
So we have a problem with the road going down the middle of a marsh or wetlands, and we have the proposed building in a new position than the old building took.
Correct, so we were sliding it back, so it was on the lot. But again, the lot is all wetlands, it's all lawn. There's a picture on this.
I think there you go. I can blow those up if you want to look at a specific one, but yeah, it has been maintained as lawn for probably a very long time, but it's still within a wetland. And if we were going to look at what existing wetland is there, you have a marsh that's been cleared as not to expand, and if you were to put a 30-foot no activity zone just on that marsh line alone, the new structure wouldn't meet the performance standards of our bylaw either.
So one more time, Josh, your recommendation, what you,
Rebuild the structure within the existing footprint, but rotate it so as it can, be encapsulated on the lot. I know one of the reasons you moved the structure was to meet some of the zoning setbacks. I believe you're gonna have to go in front of zoning anyway to get a variance for the new structure, just because it doesn't meet the 10-foot setback of the rear lot line with the deck. So, even if we had approved what is proposed, zoning is still gonna have to review this plan. And I can't speak for the planning department, but I know the gravel road is probably inadequate for what they would approve for, emergency access as well. So you'd probably have to go in front of planning for some type of permitting as well.
okay. Questions? Okay, Donna.
Well, I don't have any questions per se. I'm wondering if this is something that the zoning might come first.
Okay,
If I may, I think they would, in this instance, definitely say, go talk to conservation first.
conservation tends to be the
They tend to
first.
do us first?
Yeah,
Especially in this case.
some of the zoning permits actually require that we make a decision first as
Make the
well.
decision first. Well, I stand corrected, and
It gets
This is-
very confusing.
this is a bit of a mess. I sympathize with the mess. I have no questions, though.
Okay, Paula Jean.
I don't know so much questions other than, boy, it's tricky finding that place. It is all wet, and I read the bylaws again, and it sounds like because it's wet, you can't have these activities there. So I don't know how we reconcile it.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine it's almost more like you're grandfathering an existing structure. If this was a new proposal in front of the commission today, it
Yeah.
would never, I don't think we would ever see a proposal like this, because it just wouldn't,
No.
it wouldn't pass any of the tests.
Autumn.
Thank you for coming in tonight and speaking to this project. I do want to share with the commission that I do have concerns about the location and the proposal. I would like to see possibly a new proposal based off of Josh's recommendations. Another concern that I would like to share is any of the bordering vegetated wetlands in the new proposal, if we could consider those, if there's any way to replicate those and include those in a new plan, I would appreciate that, just to meet our bylaws and make sure that we're still protecting the land and making sure that it has the support that it needs. Thank you.
Kwame.
I think I'm going to wait for more questions until, obviously, we're probably going to might continue, correct? That's what I'm looking at.
Oh, yes.
So
This
I
is
think
not going
I'll-
to be
I think I'll
solved
wait,
tonight, yes.
but thank you.
Okay. Michael?
Again, I'm going to have to wait on this, just say Kwame, and again, I had the same concerns coming into this one as Josh did. If there's any way we could realign the structure, that was all. But other than that, I'm going to have to wait. Thank
We
you.
can come up with a revised plan and discuss with Josh and
Correct. I think that, again, we're going to have to wait on this one and come up with a revised plan. That's all. Thank you.
absolutely.
Joe?
When I went out there, it was really wet on the ground. It did look like there was some work being done to the building, like a new meter service on there too, but, I mean, no really good questions here, but more of just comments in general. I'd be concerned with putting something there, but.
Now, this building is held up under cement blocks, 4x4s. I'm surprised it hasn't fallen down. So there is no basement, no sonic tubes, no nothing other than whatever fit under the house at the time to keep it from falling in.
Call it pseudo pilings underneath there to kind of get it off the ground,
Okay.
because that ground isn't.
Now, unfortunately, you came before us, and I am a sewer commissioner. There is no lateral.
So
There is nothing close to it on our
we've been
lot.
told that it was, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Someone's raising their hand behind you, but I'll see them in a minute. But I went to the town map for utilities and found no lateral. The closest find I have is somewhere down on Bisbee. It comes halfway down. And the other one is a conjunction between Barlow and Nelson. I couldn't find any other sewer lines coming to it. But again, like everybody else, I'm very concerned about how wet this project, this land is. So I look forward to a revised plan. And so I'm going to ask anybody in the audience who'd like to comment on the project. The person behind you waving his hand, come on forward and identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Bill Bayshot. I was already talking to Guy Campina, and the stub is on Bisbee for this property.
The stub on Bisbee's been used already by another house.
There is one there for it, though. I did this with a guy.
You know, Guy's no longer with us.
Oh, okay, because I have the plan.
Because
Wait a minute, let me see if I have it.
I did ask the current superintendent down there, and the
Give me one sec, because I actually looked at putting the sewer to the existing structure and fixing the existing structure. And I told him it's not really worth fixing and gonna take way too much to do that. 28 Nelson. I have the card right here that shows the stub for it.
What number?
This is what Guy gave me when I went down there, and he says it's there. He said, just be careful because the lateral is close to the surface.
That's 21.
That's the one for this house.
That's 28 Nelson, that's 90, so they're saying the stub is there?
Yes.
Well, okay, thank you, but I didn't find any evidence of the sewer line even going down there. Okay, I will double-check my records at the sewer department, but we're very concerned about the wetlands and the positioning of the property. So I think anybody in the audience, other audience would like to talk to us about it, please come forward and identify yourself.
I do have a comment letter that was mailed in that I'll read into the.
Okay, thank you. And your name, please. Come, have a seat and tell us who you are.
I'm Patricia Goodrow, 30 Arnold Street. I'm 2 properties beside this 28 Nelson. This cottage that I own has been in my family for 70 years. It's extremely wet over where they're looking to do this renovation. As the years have gone on, the water tide has come up higher, the land is wet. The property that's right next door to us that abuts it, you can't even cut the grass over there, it's so wet. So I know you're talking wetlands, but it's just getting worse and worse throughout the years. And I'm very concerned that this is gonna create more of a wet problem.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else? Appreciate your comments. So that anybody online to comment on it?
Not at this time.
So I'd like a motion to continue. Do you think, oh yeah, you want something to read
yeah.
into it, sorry.
I'm just gonna read into the record a letter that was submitted. This is Paul and Samantha Roy. So they say, to whom it may concern. After receiving the notice of intent letter regarding 28 Nelson Street, we became troubled by the project proposed by Outback Engineering for multiple reasons. The proposed project has a direct negative impact on our abutting property. The move of the proposed structure closer to the wetlands has adverse effects for a variety of reasons. Wareham is one of the few towns that enforces stricter buffer zone protecting the wetland, water resources, estuaries, and preserving natural habitats. It seems obvious that the structure, including its deck, should not be allowed approximately 7 feet from the wetlands. Expanding the footprint of the existing structure also impedes additional wetland areas. If the structure was a new proposal versus grandfathered in, it would not be allowed to be built. The speculator, Russell Roofing and Inspection, Inc., and his many businesses were aware of the stringent wetland policies when the property was purchased recently. The risky attempt by the speculator to cash in on the vista of conservation wetlands has been reviewed and stopped many times before on July 12, 2021, excuse me, September 7, 2021, and March 23, 2023. The letter goes on to say, in reading an article in the Wareham Week from January 13, 2024, sewer moratorium systems, maybe? It looks like a typo. Housing Authority project. The sewer commissioner, Pete Dunlop, was quoted as saying, the moratorium has our hands tied. We cannot accept no additional flows. The building project was denied as the commissioner found no reason for an exception to the April 2022 moratorium. In light of this information, if no one can live at Nelson, how can the current authorities allow the Nelson structure to be built in our precious fleeting wetlands? Using a septic tank and leaching field is going backwards and damaging the ecosystem. If it is possible to proceed forward with the hope of future sewer availabilities, then it should also be said that upon the future date, this proposed structure will need to adhere to the future requirements of construction abutting wetlands. Hence, this will negate the current proposed project and negate future project as well. Finally, and most importantly, our home where we are downstream, low-lying abutters from 28 Nelson Street. We reviewed the plans and did not see a hydrological water flow study from the low-lying abutters. Please be on notice, this is necessary with on-site hydrologic in-person testing to assess before and after damages throughout the year on our land. Our stream located on the paper road of Nelson Street between the two properties currently floods excessively. Our low-lying area is wet continuously and is taxed beyond its capacity. As the structure on 28 Nelson Street sits currently, it has less impact on tidal water flow and water mitigation. Excuse me. If the structure is moved as proposed, it will greatly increase tidal water flow onto our adjacent property. Additionally, breakaway skirting or an enclosed breakaway foundation structure below the future home will cause water impediment daily. This impediment will have no place to go but our low-lying property. We saw nothing depicted in the drawings for a mechanical pump to move the water that will head to the low-lying areas away from our already saturated property. A French drain or dry well will be of little use, and the hydrological study will bring this to light. Finally, the drawing was incomplete and did not depict the full dimensions of the parking surfaces or entry point stairs. Again, this parking surface creates another impediment to downstream neighbor. Sorry, just a little more. A possible option then what is proposed is moving the structure 15 feet to the north off the paper road of Alfred Ave and turning the structure on its axis in line on the line with the existing 100-foot plot line on the paper road of Alfred Avenue. This would reduce water runoff impact to downstream low-lying abutters and remove existing structures from the easement. More importantly, it would be a benefit for all the parties having the property in the highlands instead of the wetlands. Secondly, the planting of indigenous wetland trees on low-lying south side of the Nelson property would be useful. It would slow erosion and absorb water in the creek area so that it would lessen the impact of water flow onto our property and also mitigate the view of a pencil-like structure of 350 square feet in the sky. This would replace a few trees that would need to be removed in that 15 feet noted area above for environmental impact of water and erosion mitigation, the aesthetics, and being a good neighbor as well. The planting of the natural offset tree line on the south of Nelson would help and create a buffer in case the property is flipped or becomes a weekly rental. We give time and effort more than you can imagine and truly believe in the importance of being good stewards of the land, and we also want to be good neighbors. Please put yourself in our shoes. We consider our property to be our dream property in the later years with pristine views, natural unobstructed wetlands, quiet neighbors, land to care, and we want to protect it for generations. We hope you feel the same way. We thank you in advance for your time and consideration.
Thank you. You have a challenge.
Yep, everything's wet there. Everybody's in the flood zone around there, so we're not gonna change any of the flooding or anything like that. We're not gonna increase any flooding. It's in a flood zone. It's in a flood zone by 8 feet. So anything we do is not gonna change how much water people get or have. We'll definitely take into consideration Josh's comments and recommendations and get a revised plan and get it back to you.
Next meeting is the 7th of February. Can you make that, or you want to, right, 2/7?
Correct.
Or do you want to go further?
I think we're good with that.
Yep, but I've gone through all our records, and I don't find this listed as
You know what it is? I think
non-connected.
Guy gave me the original one.
Well, that doesn't help, does it?
No, it doesn't.
And I'm sure they haven't been paying their betterment fees either.
I think it was paid, from what I understand from Guy, I think it was paid a long, long time ago.
Okay,
I don't know.
I can't find it listed as not connected. Okay, but that's another issue
I have
for
one.
another department.
Sorry, one small question. How many feet are you from the river? What do you think? Maybe 3,000, 4,000, 6,000 feet, maybe?
I think the new plan brings it much further away from the river than it is presently.
I'm just a wild guess, that's all. I'm
I'd
sorry.
have to check on that. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure.
Okay.
I can get
just-
that info for you.
I can give you a rough estimate. Give me a sec.
I didn't know there was Wildlands Trust land out there. I thought I knew all of the conservation land. Okay. Any other comments while we're looking up how far it is from the river?
— 250 feet.
Jerem?
Wow, yeah, I thought it was further, but wow, that's pretty good.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Josh.
Nothing else? I need a motion to continue until February 7.
Motion to continue till February 7th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. We'll see you on February 7.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Will those be at 6 or 6:30?
6.
You 6:30. Just kidding.
I thought I was so good getting there early. I was like,
Yeah,
oh.
gotcha.
And I walk in and there's already stuff going on.
Okey doke.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We now have continued hearings. Let's see what we have. We have Prime Engineering, 370 County Road.
They are still, I will say, potentially in front of the planning board. So they've requested a continuance to February 21st.
21st. I'll need a motion.
Motion to continue till February 21st, you said? Or 20?
21st.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor for February 21st? Aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, it's continued until the 21st of February. The next one we have is Faring Hill LLC. It was continued until January 17th. What's the status?
Requested a continuance to February 7th. We have received all the comments back from the peer review, and I shared those with you,
Yes,
you all. So they're looking to continue to the 7th.
all right.
Motion to continue till February 7th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, will continue until February 7th. Now we have a request for extension of a project at MassDOT Wareham 628 reconstruction. They've asked for 3 years. Okay, Josh, you want to talk to us? Is Mr. Bichette online?
He's raising.
Please let him in. They got a little bit more work to do. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, old buddy.
Look at you, not in front of us. Look at that. Welcome.
Thank you, yes, and for the record, my name is Dave Pichette, representing Mass DOT, which is a different spot for me in this forum. So anyway, I'm here tonight for this request for an extension to this order of conditions, DEP file number SE 762467, and this is the project for the reconstruction of Route 6 and 28, Cranberry Highway in East Wareham. And so we are requesting an extension on this order of conditions as it is due to run out on March 27th, and there is still some remaining work to be done. The project is largely completed, but there are certain things that are going to need to be completed that will go beyond that March 27th date. So I met with your agent, Josh, there last week, and we kind of went over the remaining items that are necessary to be completed. And so that largely includes one of the stormwater BMPs, which has been shaped out but has not been planted and completed in the way that it was approved on the project plans. And then, of course, the finished pavement course has to be put in, and certain other things such as line striping and other punch list items. But it's projected that this is going to only take a few more months into the early summer, but it is going to go beyond the March 27th date, and therefore we are requesting the extension to the order. And I'd be happy to try to answer any further questions.
Right.
So this is a very large project that, like Mr. Pichette said, is near its completion. The commission has started to stick to the provisions of the bylaw with, extensions of 1 year for the first extension and then making, the applicant refile. This one is a little bit more unique because it's already in its second extension. But it probably doesn't make sense to require a refiling for something that's,
For a few trees and plant, yeah.
Yeah, it's the creation of the stormwater BMP and, the planting of the actual plants in the BMP. But I would say, the refiling for, what is left of 5%, maybe doesn't make sense, so. It sounds like an extension would be an appropriate way to go.
Okay. Donna?
No questions.
Paula Jean?
I had the bylaw in front of me where it says it can only be renewed for an
Yep.
additional one-year period, so, I mean, do we bend the rules or not? Common sense says, why not? But we're supposed to adhere to what's written.
Yes.
Go with the group here.
Yeah, it's already been extended 3 years.
Yeah.
So the bylaw has already been thrown out the window on this
Yep.
one a little bit, but.
Anarchy ensues.
Yeah, well, part of our bylaw rewrite needs to consider the size of the project and the balance remaining on the project for the extension. The idea of that was to say, you've got your approval, you can't keep extending it year after year after year after doing nothing. That type of stuff was really why that was put into the bylaw, but this is beyond that. It's virtually done, except for about 5%.
Yeah.
And it's such a major project.
Yeah.
I would say the last few projects that you have taken the stance of the bylaw on, the projects hadn't even been started yet,
Yeah.
so.
We're so close to the end, and
We'll be adjusting that bylaw, I'm sure, in
I'm sure we will
upcoming
be.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
when we start working on it. Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
Kwame.
Happy New Year, David.
Thank you.
Michael,
No questions, thank you.
Joe.
None for me.
Anybody in the audience? No, I don't ask. This isn't a hearing. I really do recommend that we do allow extension of 1 year, and that be it. No more after 1 year, David. It gets done.
I think that should be fine. As I said, the project is proposed to be completed at some point during the summer. Obviously, we can't say exactly when based on whatever weather issues may or may not, cause time to go by and before the completion date gets to its endpoint. But it certainly should not need anything more than a year, so that would be totally acceptable.
Yes, one of the reasons there was a major delay in Woodland Cove hooking up their sewer to 6 and 28, which delayed all that work down there, which is why the top coat hasn't been put on, et cetera, et cetera. So there was a lot of delays in this particular a lot of problems with the utilities moving off the poles, so the old poles can be removed. So there were a lot of issues with this project, and I see no problem in issuing an extension for 1 year until March 27, 25. Any other comments? Someone might like to make a motion?
Motion to continue till March 2025?
No, extend.
Extend, rather.
1 year
1 year
extension?
extension till March 2025?
Yep, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Make them work faster, Dave.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and it was great seeing all of you. Hopefully, I'll see you in person at some point soon.
Take care. Thank
All
you.
right, bye now.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay. Amended order of condition, Danny Warren. Oh, he stepped out. Mr. Madden, you're up by yourself.
Next.
It's just one packet, Mike.
Oh, I was going to say. First.
I have some half sizes if you want them. It's,
Donna, do you want to come down?
Sure, so I can see.
I don't know where Carol is. She lost her seat.
It's just one packet.
That's really good. I haven't been on site over there yet.
Oh, Donna, could you just take your name tag with you?
I will do that.
I thought I had half sizes, I guess there's only one half size set in
I can put it on the screen, Bill.
okay, that'd be great.
So you can see the screen.
Yeah.
I think sheet 4 is, maybe, 4 is the one that we'll probably talk about the most, that has the
Okay.
features on it that we're discussing tonight. I'm Bill Madden from GAF Engineering here on behalf of Warren Q. OZB LLC, 59 Main Street, the project that we've all been witnessing being constructed over the last couple of years. We had come before the commission a number of times asking, just whether little minor changes were significant enough to warrant a amended order conditions. I think we talked about just squaring off the building in a couple of places, just doing some very minor things. We were asked to come back at one point in time we were asked to come back when we had showed the Connex box in the pavilion, when those things were going to be constructed, and then to include the changes to the building and around the site with that one final request for amended order. So that's what these plans show. These are the same plans we presented to the planning board. The planning board asked us to do the same thing along similar lines. So if we start with the main building, we squared off, we're requesting the opportunity to square off this southeast corner of the building. It's about a 390 square foot addition. It's going to have some egress stairs as well that go down to grade. So there'll be access from inside the building to this exterior, well, it's like a 3-season room for the lack of a better description. And then there'd be some egress stairs that discharge at grade for emergency egress from the building. There's another small area in the front, the southwest corner of the building. Small, it's around 70 square feet. And that was just to give a little bit more room to the kitchen. They're not within any, they're within land subject to coastal storm flowage. So we're not subject to a buffer zone or coastal bank or any other type of resource area here other than just land subject to coastal storm flowage. So as you might recall, that whole entire building was built at elevation 17. We're in the AE 16 zone. I keep forgetting that. I don't know if it's AE 16 or AE 15 zoning district, and requires the floor to be 1 foot higher than the flood elevation. So that's why we're at elevation 17. So all these floor levels will be at the same elevation of the building, and there'll be basement area or open area below them. Then in this farther to the west and the south on the site is a dumpster enclosure that we're looking at. It's a 9x13 dumpster enclosure. It was hopeful that they could place that dumpster enclosure there and it would be a covered enclosure, a separate standalone building. They thought that there was some aesthetic value in doing that, and then also with the roof on it and tops on it, it would really be a detriment to seagulls, predominantly seagulls and birds and other animals from finding their way into that building. So those were the three major things on the building that we proposed. The main site features that we're talking about is this brick and timber framed pavilion that they're looking to construct on the site. Just an open pavilion on piles. Well, not on piles, on a concrete slab. The roof is supported by piles, and it'll have some architectural features on the end. And where this decking is shown, there's some decking that's shown adjacent to the marina. There was a boat ramp there at one point in time, so we, with our Chapter 91 license, we permitted decking, like three by 10-inch boards, 3 by 8-inch board decking across that. So what the desire was to see if we could get authorization to extend that really to the face of the pavilion, just to make a smooth and consistent transition from that space to that outdoor open space. So that's, I guess, if we count them together, it's going to be the fourth thing that's shown in the plan. And then the final thing was the 8 by 40 Connex box that was going to be used to serve, I think it was going to be fried food and ice cream from it. So that would be placed on, I think we're calling for it to be placed on a crushed stone or a stone base. Each side of it, where the windows might be located to service the patrons, is a cement concrete sidewalk that ties into the cement concrete sidewalk that bans the parking lot. And other than that, the existing grassed areas, we have stormwater management infiltration beds located underneath these larger spaces to the south. None of those would be changed with the project. We located those away from them since they're already installed. We didn't have a tremendous amount of choice, but we could have moved things. But we think that the location now is, after we've had a good opportunity to study the site, see how things work with the building and the people that go down there, we think that that location all works.
And I'm going to interrupt
Fairly
you
well.
to see how it floods on a high tide. That was very important, too, to see what the water did when it came up that river.
Yeah, Bessie Park's a pretty good indicator on that. When the gangways start pointing up,
Yep,
you know
yes,
that the
then-
water's very high down
Yes.
there.
When we have a V as opposed to a walkway, yes.
Yeah, no, it was pretty, it was very stormy for a couple of times this month, pretty intense. But in any event, they will both be constructed to meet FEMA construction standards for A-zone construction. So the pavilion's pretty straightforward with the pile supported roof and the open area between those piles that allows floodwaters to move back and forth across the site. The pavilion, in the event of like a pretty severe storm event, that could actually, not the pavilion, I'm sorry, the Connex box, that could actually be picked and moved off the site. But it's a temporary structure, it's not a permanent structure. It will have utilities to it. It'll have water, it'll have sewer, it'll have electric, and it'll likely have gas. And all those utilities have specific requirements with FEMA so that their quick disconnect doesn't allow storm water to flow back into the sewer system and what have you. So a series of mechanical operations, whether it be a valve that needs to be manually shut or a quick disconnect that just needs to be disconnected at the time of removal, is all that would need to be done with that. So we think we've covered the base with that. Obviously, it'll be reviewed by the building department, what all the components of the construction will be included with that package. And that, coupled with conservation review, I think ensures that we'll get construction that meets the FEMA requirements and meets the regulations and for conservation in the local bylaw. So in this area down here, there was no local bylaw. One of the town meetings, they voted to eliminate the 50-foot no activity zone, so we can go right up to the water's edge. Unlike the other projects you saw, there was discussion on the bylaw that we don't necessarily have that discussion to the same degree here.
As long as
That's
that 50-foot had been constructed.
Pardon me?
There was a restriction that 50-foot had already been disturbed and filled in at some time, so it isn't everything 50-foot, but in this area.
Yeah, so it wasn't a natural occurring wetland. It had previously been
Yep.
altered land and,
Yep, that bylaw was passed, so this project could use every single foot available.
which was absolutely needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Warren, you came, please identify yourself now that you've come to the table.
Yes, I'm Danny Warren. I'm the owner of the project.
Thank you.
in the building.
do you want to add anything, or should we just continue with Josh, your comments?
Only one thing I want to ask Bill a question. Are we sure about the size of that trash building?
That's what I have from ASAP.
Hang on, so I'm just verifying one thing. Because the first one he designed was not big enough. I just don't want to tell you it's one size and then find out it's another.
Well, we used the latest, the structural engineer that designed the trash building, we used his latest drawing
Okay, then I
that
said
we had, and it was 9 by 30.
30, because Bill said 13, that's what.
Oh, did I say 13?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, no, yeah, that was definitely very wrong.
Yeah.
No, it's 9 by 30, I'm sorry about that.
Good ear, because I didn't even notice that. You did.
I was listening carefully.
Josh, your comments?
Yeah, so I think a lot of this project has already been approved by the commission, or at least other discussions that the commission has had were in favor of this. As far as, the meeting the standards of the bylaws, Mr. Madden said the no activity zone was stripped from this area. It was stripped from Main Street, and it was stripped from Onset, so, they meet the provisions of what would be the bylaw as well.
Yeah, it was stripped from this point all the way down to Tremont Nail, it was stripped. So, yeah. Thank you, town meeting.
The wrong way.
Yes. Any other comments on it? No. Questions on the board? Paula Jean?
No, I think you answered my question. I was going to ask about the Connex board box. If someone announces in the weather that the hurricane of 1930 is coming back, 38 is coming back, and you had to lift it up and move it, what about all the connections? And you answered that already. Where would you put the box? Where would you move it to where?
Well, where would we move it? We'd move it to either higher ground on that
Yeah.
property.
On that property, this higher?
If we get up on the hill, we're.
It's just
if it gets
curious.
There, we'll forget it. We'll turn it into an arc.
Yeah, thank you.
Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
Donna?
No questions, thank you.
Kwame?
Oh, just going to say, it was nice work over there, Mr. Warren. It was a long time coming and nice engineering. So hopefully one day I can get to walk over there and see what's really going on, other than seeing on the street.
Come and see it inside. We're there every day, buddy. And everybody's coming in now saying, can I just peek for a second?
I have a hard hat. I can get in there. Right.
More than welcome.
Michael?
Thank you.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Joe?
None for me, but I would like to get out there if you're offering the invite. Be a nice place to
Anytime.
check out.
We love showing it, and we love getting people's ideas.
Awesome,
So if
thank
there's
you.
a pickup truck in the parking lot with a Danny Warren sign, Warren Construction,
No,
he's
I had
there.
to take it off. Now it's just a black pickup.
Oh, okay.
The new owner said, you're confusing the whole world.
My question is, what type of flow from the pavilion do you have on, it's not clear to me on page 6, if you're going to be flowing to that existing underwater storage? It's too small for me to read it as to what you're going to do with the runoff from, I'm going to go both buildings, for the Connex building and the pavilion.
Right, this is the pavilion, the
Yes.
Connex box. What's happening with what, the roof runoff?
Yes.
At grade, it's just going to discharge at grade and infiltrate into the ground.
Okay, so no flow into the existing basin where you're going to run off from the parking lot?
We did not show a tide connection.
Josh and I looked at that today. That might be doable. We think it's probably doable.
To come off of the pavilion? The Connex box isn't significant in size to make a difference.
There's too much underground already there.
Yeah, okay.
But for the pavilion, I think we can tie into what's there.
If you were so inclined to put a condition together in the event you're going to approve it, to tie the roof drains from the pavilion into the underground infiltration, we could do that. The drainage calculations included the roof of the pavilion.
The bigger pavilion that was first planned.
bigger
The
pavilion,
big,
yes,
very
yes.
big pavilion.
Yeah, this one's actually smaller too, so that's.
Okay,
And the only other thing I'd like to say is, when we'd asked planning about extending the boardwalk back to it, that was because it was gonna look awkward. If we can go back on it, then I want the grass. That's what we're trying to achieve. All we can is get more green space just for people.
now that was very confusing. What are you planning to change?
instead of having the box set in front of the deck we built over the old boat launch, let it.
The box being the pavilion.
Being the pavilion, let it be built over it. So you can, and we built it heavy, 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 so we could build on it someday or whatever. But if that would be possible, then we can reserve all that green in the front.
All right. Bill, I just got confused.
He's
What is he
asking if
making?
we could just move this pavilion closer to the river,
Closer to the river.
basically to the area where we had the boards originally designed under the marina plan. So if you look at this, if you look at that plan on sheet number 6, Sandy?
6?
You'll see a heavy line, there's a heavy line of those.
Wait a
see
minute,
that-
6?
See the little heavier line? That's the distinction between, yes, that's the distinction between the wood that was placed with the marina.
That was previously approved.
Yes.
Then you're going to move the pavilion closer to it, but still keeping green between the two structures.
Yeah, if I could.
Go.
Over there.
Keep the green, keep more green, I think what you're saying is right here.
No. I think he means behind it, between the pavilion and the water.
I'm saying if you run the building back, because we got heavy timbers and heavy granite walls on both sides, square off back here, bring the building not all the way back, but bring it back, say, the same as the sidewalk, that 5 feet, and you can still walk right through it. It's up this way a little bit more, but then this here all stays
That
green.
becomes grass. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So you're proposing to move the pavilion structure to on top of? Your mic on?
The platform.
It is, sorry. You're proposing to move the pavilion structure onto the platform, and then everything where the pavilion sits now would be green space.
Correct.
Would there be a sidewalk going from, would you extend the sidewalk all the way?
There'll either be a sidewalk to it or there'll be pavers, but it'll probably be the sidewalk because we learned a lot in this last month, seeing what that river is really capable of. It didn't show itself till that last storm, and it really showed itself. So that's what we're proposing.
So-
But this is all underneath, it's really large timbers. We overbuilt it like crazy because we didn't ever want to have a problem with it. It's all lagged down into the granite with stainless steel boats.
Okay, so we're going to move the pavilion closer to the river to where that heavy line is.
Here's this, see the line right here? That's where the
Yeah.
sidewalk line is? So
Yeah.
we're walking-
Oh, that line.
That line, because I first thought I wanted to go all the way back, but I don't, because I don't want to take a situation, a lot of trash winds up in the river from that. We're gonna fence that whole walkway is gonna be fenced with a real light gauge galvanized fence, because it'll disappear, just for that reason too, so if a couple gets away from a kid or
So,
anything, it's not gonna go right.
Bill, how far back is that going to go? If you could, somebody with a straight edge?
How many more feet? Well, the,
I think it's maybe 10 feet.
Go back
Probably 8, 9 feet?
20 feet, I think.
That far?
Yeah, the building's 26, right? 26 by 40?
the building is 28 by 40, no,
28 by 40?
28 by
So it's
40.
28 by 40, so you go back, so 23 feet of this would go back, so it would go back to there.
Okay.
Basically to align with the
Walkway,
sidewalk.
So those 2 aprons coming down will be not done, or just be built on top of the pavilion?
These will be, those are the heavy timbers there in the
No,
ground.
no, no, the cement
Concrete.
aprons, concrete aprons that you have on either side of that boat ramp, will they be taken out?
No.
That's existing.
Okay, so you'll be putting your pavilion on top of them?
On part of it, yeah, not all the way,
Well,
yeah, on
or
some of it.
virtually up to the level of the walkway?
We're gonna say like, see that big timber?
Yeah.
We're gonna be just on this side of that big timber, so that sidewalk still works.
Okay, so that means that the sides of the pavilion's gonna change? Because if you take that pavilion and move the pavilion up toward the water,
Right.
you're gonna be on top of that walkway.
Yep, so we'll be going on that walkway there, you can still go right across there, and the wall is gonna be over someplace, but wherever that is, we'll just have to tie it all in and tie it.
So your pavilion will be not as wide?
No, it will be as wide. So we're gonna have to
I would
get
say
it-
take the structure that's presented now and move it 23 feet.
Which means it'll be on top of those two walkways.
Correct.
The walkways will not, the little aprons will not be available because the pavilion will be on top of them.
Correct.
Correct, but then you can walk right through the back, those are just there to get around.
No, I know, but I'm looking for a change in the plan to show that change.
We would need to see a revised plan of where the new pavilion is.
Because not only from us, but you'll have to take it to planning.
Okay.
I thought they approved it, even though we hadn't approved it.
They did it.
They did approve it and we hadn't, so guess what? They're going to get a change,
Yeah, right.
which is, they shouldn't have approved until we had our chance.
And I agree with that.
Yeah, I was quite surprised when they approved it and think, because they're always saying, we can't do anything until conservation has their say. So the walkway from where the parking lot is to the pavilion will be another 20 feet longer? Because you're gonna move the pavilion back 20?
Yeah, so that walkway would be another 20 feet longer.
Which
than that.
point to the walkway that I'm talking about?
The walkway you're talking about is
It's this
walkway
one,
right
yes,
there.
so that will be, yep. And it will be a concrete or a paved walkway?
It's probably gonna be concrete,
Okay,
so I don't think the pavers would
No.
ever last out there.
no, they'll get washed away in the first
That's right.
heavy storm. Okay, now, plantings. There was some discussion at planning board that you would allow people to come in from Bessie Park to use your fish fry.
Yeah,
But I look at your plantings and I don't see, page 7. I don't see a break in it to allow them to come across from Bessie Park to get to your place because of where you've got your plantings.
Well, this is Bessie Park over here, they're gonna have some plantings, but that fence is gonna come out.
Yes, but I'm looking at where you've plant things. It's not an easy walkway. I got the impression at planning that you're gonna say people can come from Bessie Park and get their ice cream and fish, fried fish. Well, I wasn't sure how they could do that based on where these plantings are. So I was looking for a little walkway or something, a break in the plantings that would allow easier access. Did that?
Yeah, we could do that. You got access, I agree, I'd rather
Yeah.
have it there too. You got access up here through that gate, but that gate right there for the.
I know, but if I come off of Bessie Park along a walkway, then I have some stairs, then how do I get to your property?
No, when you come out off of Bessie Park, that's a smooth transition
No.
over. There's no stairs.
Yeah, these aren't stairs either, are they?
Those are stairs that go,
Those are
those are
stairs
granite steps that go down
into
to
the water.
the water.
But there's no walk,
That's what I'm saying, that's the antique stairs, that's why I'd
Yes.
rather move it away from them.
no, okay, so what I'm looking for is a space in your planting plan to allow a walkway,
In here somewhere,
yes,
okay.
because I don't think you want them stepping on your hydrangeas and your junipers,
Yeah, well, we can make them a trail.
just something. Okay,
If you were inclined to like condition it, just say remove 3 hydrangeas to provide a 5-foot pathway from, unobstructed pathway from Bessie Park through the landscape buffer to our site, and we'll provide you with the plan.
okay, then that will be part of your next, your modification coming before us.
Okay.
Anybody online would like to comment on the project? Anybody in the audience would like to comment on the project? Nothing for the three of you? You're sitting there so quiet. So I think we're looking for a modification of the plan to show us the change of the location of the pavilion and a walkway, 5-foot path from Bessie Park to this location, to this property. Anything else?
Just the roof runoff be,
Oh, yes, the roof runoff, roof runoff.
I'll just show that on the plan as well.
Roof runoff, moving pavilion. Which means planning's gonna have to come again, and they probably can't get it on their next agenda.
That's all right, as long as we know we're heading the right direction.
Okay. Pass. Any other questions? If not, I'll ask for a motion to continue until February 7.
Beat me to it. All right, motion to continue until February 7th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Okay, last question, because no one's answered this question for me yet. Is there any regulation on how big a flagpole can be, where it should be, that type of stuff
I think you need to ask building inspection.
downstairs? All right.
I think flagpoles, and I would have to double check, but I think flagpoles, the height are excluded from the height restrictions in zoning.
Yeah, I think there's a 35-foot build limit, but I don't know that it specifies flagpoles within it, so.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, how high are you trying to build a flagpole?
I've got a really nice antique 50-foot pole that was at the Rockland School. They gave it to me to move it. It's an early metal pole, but it's a nice one. But Kenny Steen has an 80-footer that's a whole lot nicer that I can also get for moving. So I'd kind of like to have that bigger pole, maybe. I don't know.
As long as the flag is not so big that it tips the pole over in a big wind.
No, yeah, exactly. I gotta kick that big pole around a little bit more before I say, but it's probably gonna be a 50-foot pole.
Okay.
Where are you proposing to? put it?
Roughly where we talked about the drainage, those two big jade, I don't know what you call those, oh, I don't know what they are, they're beautiful big rocks.
Yeah.
They're not just rocks, they're special rocks. They glow in the dark, actually. I wanna go in between those two and set the pole there, almost in the center run between the front of the deck and the fence at Bessie Park.
Okay.
Mr. Madden put it on the plan.
Yeah, no, definitely will.
Yeah. Well, I'm just more thinking that usually flagpoles and things have some type of, aesthetic foundation around them, or.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's why I'm trying to pick the right place.
Yeah, so you can get it on the plan before you come back to us.
Okay.
Start thinking about that, I guess.
Okay, good.
All right, so we're continued. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Getting a little closer every time.
Okay, yes, you are. Stop changing your mind. In October, you were giving us a marina office with bathrooms and showers, and that was October.
It's gonna be in the front part of the basement of the big building.
Stop changing.
Everything changed
Mary
when I
keeps
saw that
saying,
water.
stop changing.
No, I gotta stop.
The building looks very nice. You're doing a
Yes.
good job.
Oh, I love it when you turn on the lights and we come over that river.
Oh, they're gorgeous.
Yes. Okay. Next one.
All right, thanks
Minutes.
for your time. Much appreciated.
We have minutes from December 6th and minutes from January 3rd. Were the modifications made? All right. I'll take a motion to, wait a minute, not accept, but approve, no, accept the minutes of December 6th, 2023.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of December 6, 2023.
Second?
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Minutes of January 3rd, 2024. I've reviewed them. Josh has made the changes, so they're good to go.
Motion to accept the minutes for January 3rd, 2024?
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500. They're accepted. Administration approvals, anything happening?
Yep, there was one that came before me. It was for the construction of some monitoring wells behind the old D&J landscaping building, right on.
The old one
Yeah, the old
the
one
one-
that's right up the road
by
here.
Shaw's.
Yeah, so it's, all the monitoring wells are, I think, outside of the 50-foot buffer, and they're all in existing parking lot pavement.
Okay.
so.
Now we have, somebody just arrived just in time. Did you plan that? The approval of the Sawyer Conservation Restriction and recommendation of approval for the Wareham Select Board. Comments, please.
Elise, do you want to speak to it at all? I mean, it's been in front of the commission.
Yeah, please, unless you'd like to take a minute to catch your breath.
I couldn't find the room. I followed a sign in the wrong hallway. I'm here, though. So for the
Done it.
record, my
Thank
name
you.
is Elise Leduc Fleming. I'm the executive director of the Wareham Land Trust. I did come before you via Zoom a few weeks ago, right after Christmas perhaps, with a first draft of the Sawyer Preserve CR. We discussed that there were a couple formatting changes and basically adding addresses and changing dates and things that has to happen. Nothing substantial changed in that document. You now have before you the revised version of the Sawyer Preserve CR, as well as a version, basically a final draft of the Marks Cove Vista CR. It's essentially the same document. with the exception of describing the address and describing the habitat differently, but the restrictions are essentially the same, and we did take your comment, Sandy, about the motorized bicycles and carried that through to the Marks Cove Vista
I
one
noticed,
as
thank
well.
you.
So we did sort of try to make sure that anything that we heard from the first version was also incorporated into the second version. And because it is basically boilerplate language from the state, we're hoping that it's acceptable to both the Conservation Commission and the Select Board, so we can move this quickly
And
through the state for approval.
you added some more words regarding the Mark Cove Vista for trails and clearing and things like that, because I think you're planning to put a more wider trail in.
It's already there.
It's already there.
So we're not planning to widen what's there, but we're planning to maintain
Maintain.
what's there. And that property is meant to be a very different use than the Sawyer
Yes.
Preserve. The Sawyer Preserve is sort of back in the woods, and it's really a narrow hiking trail for someone who's looking for like a 3-mile hike. The Marks Cove Vista property was acquired with the understanding that we could get almost any person from a car to the water. And we're hoping to have a handicap accessible trail, so we're gonna have a different grade there. There's gonna be a bench at the end. It's not a hike. It's maybe 100 feet from Carr to Salt Marsh. And we wanna make sure that that remains accessible. And because there is already sort of an old road access point, we would like to keep that open in case we need to access it for emergencies. We're not gonna allow vehicles to drive in there, but it would let us get it back
So
there.
there was more words regarding that on the Marks Cove than there was under the Sawyer, but I was pleased to see that you were accommodating access by everybody. Did everybody have a chance to read the two of them? I tried to print it out, but it was a draft, and all I have is red lines and everything else, so somewhere down the line, I'd like to have one that I can formally print out and store with all my other pile of CRs.
Well, we don't want to do that until we hear back from the state.
Okay,
So what may happen is when we send, we're going to just send them together if the select board approves both of them, just get them both into their system. It's likely they will move the Marks Cove Vista one forward faster because that is tied to the Conservation Partnership Grant, and the CR must be approved by the state by June 30th or we can't get that funding. Sawyer isn't tied to that timeline, and they have a huge backlog in the state, so anything that's tied to grant funding, they've been moving to the front of the pack.
okay.
So we'll likely see the responses on that one first. They may come back in if we're super lucky, and say, this is perfect, let's all sign it the way it is. I can almost guarantee that's not what's gonna happen. They'll find some nitpicky thing to change at the very least.
You missed a comma someplace.
So until they do that, and then once they agree, and we review their comments, and we all agree with what they want to change, then we'll accept all changes, and we'll have a clean version.
Okay.
That's what we'll all sign.
Yes, I'm seeing.
That's what we'll keep in our records. This is not going to look like this when we're done.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask I'm going to ask that you look at both of these CRs and any questions. Paula Jean.
No questions, thank you. I think it's great.
Autumn.
No questions, thank you.
Donna.
Yeah, you've done a great job, thank you.
Thank you.
Tommy.
All set, thank you.
Michael.
No questions here, thank you, good job.
Joe.
None for me.
Anybody else? Comments from the ladies in the audience? You're very pleased with it, well done. I am, so we're looking for a motion to keep in mind that we will be the holder of this conservation restriction. It belongs to the Conservation Commission, and we're looking to approve it and then pass it on to the selectmen so they formally approve both of these CRs. So I can take them individually, or I can take the two of them together. Whoever makes the motion, it's your call. I can't make the motion.
It's a motion to recommend that the approval of the conservation restrictions to the select board.
I move we recommend to the select board to accept both of these CRs.
The Sawyer Conservation and the Mark Coves Vista. That is the motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Josh, will you write the letter, or do you want me to write the email to the select board?
I got it.
Or do I do pillow talk tonight?
I will write a formal letter to the select board.
Okay, thank you.
tomorrow.
500 to recommend.
Thank you all for, I know they're long documents, and I know they were hideous to look at with the track changes, but it's the state's policy, so thank you so much for taking the time and for working with us on preserving these two properties.
Thank you. You're all set. Now, we had a list of the approved schedule for our meetings in 2024. We had one of our meetings were on Juneteenth. Do we reschedule that or just not have a meeting on Juneteenth? Am I saying it right, Juneteenth?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say
So
we
June
reschedule.
19th is a holiday, and that's why,
Yeah, I think we should keep it consistent. It's a holiday.
okay, so that we will not have a meeting on June 19th, 2024, but I need to approve the rest of the schedule, which continues through the year of the first and the third Wednesdays of the month. I need to approve.
Motion to approve the schedule for the year 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. And June 19th is really is a day off. Okay, workshops. I've asked Josh to put together something to help our newer members understand the request for determination of applicability, the RDA, and the determination of applicability. So you're up to teach us, please.
So I could say, excuse me. I could say our next hearing is going to be a lot shorter. I think I only have one application.
Okay.
So if we want to do it tonight, we can, or if we want to postpone it to next meeting, we can.
Well, who's to say you'll be at the next meeting?
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good
getting
point.
close there,
I
buddy.
almost got out of it. My plan is to be at the next meeting.
Okay.
The definite date is January 28th, so I should have no conflict with being
If
at it.
nothing else happens in the meantime.
Right. It could
Braxton
happen
Hicks.
at 3 a.m.
It could.
I guess
Your choice, folks. It's 7:30. Do you want to call it, or do you want to,
our next hearing has one application so far and we'll have the continuance of Hidden Trails. And, maybe a certificate of compliance or two. I mean, I'm more than happy to
and
do it
Danny,
tonight.
whatever Danny might come up with on the 7th should very well be
Quick.
a quick,
Right.
because I think we beat it today.
Yeah.
Excuse me, are we talking about a half an hour or an hour and a half, or how,
No,
what do you
no, no.
guess? Because we could do it now if it's, I mean, it's
I would
fine
say
with
we
me.
could definitely be, if we want to be out of here by 7:45, I could give a
Do it
quick
now.
version, or,
Yeah,
okay. I guess what I'll do is I'll pull up the actual application and we can just walk through it.
Or you could do one of the two.
I could start with one of the two. Why don't I?
how long it takes for the first one?
Hit the RDA and we'll see if everybody's still awake.
That sounds good to me.
And I haven't heard from Carol.
Actually, what I will do, at our last hearing, there was recommendations of how to make our permits more accessible. So I'll walk through that very quickly, just so everyone knows as well. So if you go to the conservation page on the town website, and you go under conservation projects, I have created a step-by-step task list to, reach the projects and how to get to them. This seems like a good solution to the solution that we had nothing for before. And I think moving forward, one of the recommendation was that we actually tie the record to the agenda.
When you say record, do you mean what is the record number? Because I don't
Right, so.
I don't know how to find it.
So OpenGov gives all of the records their own record title or, way to find them. They have been numerical since I started with OpenGov. So you can see the most recent one we received is Notice of Intent number 40 or RDA number 34.
So if someone isn't quite sure, like off of County Road, doesn't quite find it, they can find this record number and use that to find the document.
Correct. If you type in, 0 County Road off, there are probably 9 different properties that fall into that.
Nancy spent a lot of time going down this thing, and her recommendation is that we find an easier way of finding a record number or handling something that does not have a true street number. It became very hard to find.
Right, so what I can say is I've just been doing it numerically as they come in. And if I go to,
But your record number has nothing to do with the RDA, the state.
correct.
Okay.
It has no correlation to how this, the state creates records as our SE 76 and then whatever record they're on now.
Yep.
There's no way for me to create a record name within OpenGov to reflect what they have issued.
Okay.
And, sometimes we don't get the state's number until, the day of the meeting or sometimes even after when
Okay.
we've had to continue projects. So creating that record number and making it accessible for the public, I just don't, it's not possible right now through
Okay.
OpenGov. But there are some, if I pull up, let me just edit one of ours. There are a few different ways to track the record. So right now I have it as, the prefix of a notice of intent, and then it does it numerically. But you could do it, prefix with the year as well. I think this is just a preference. And if the commission wants to see it some other way, we could do that, but.
Okay, so go back to going on to the website, the first page, and take us down what you've done. And Nancy, thank you for your time. I read that and said, oh yeah, how do I find 0 off a county road?
But what I can do is I can, take that notice of intent number 30, whatever it may be, and just put that in the agenda.
Okay.
So that way if someone sees the agenda, they can see, where that project is located. But,
So here we are. Come on down.
Oh, here, let's, sorry. So you go to the Conservation Department, Conservation Projects, and here is a step-by-step. So this would be the first link that brings you to the OpenGov site, if it wants to load. And this is where you'd be able to find the projects. And then I've just basically spelled out how to access those by the actual search. So you could search by location, you could search by record if you know the record name. And then it will bring up a list of, the associated properties. Obviously, 247 Onset Ave isn't 186 Onset Ave, but it takes a good guess at what you're trying to look for. So it might just pull up other Onset Ave properties. And then this is the actual record where you'll see I chose the park in Onset. I think it's 186 Onset Ave. And this is all the permits that were for that property.
And we can drill down any one of them.
Yep, you can, so all these are historic permits. They probably have something to do with either the building department or where this is a park that the town owns. It may be some type of permit for use of the park, whether it be for some, band or recreational purpose. So that's where a lot of these permits come into play. And, here's our notice of intent, number 39. So, you click on that, and then I talk about how you could actually find the files for the project and, where you can download those and actually view the documentation.
Okay. Nancy, introduce yourself and give us a summary of what you found when you were asked to do this lookup.
Thank you. Nancy McHale, Faring Hill Road. First of all, Josh, this is a huge improvement over what we were getting before, which was basically standing in your office going, hey, can you show me what this is? Yeah. So that's all really good. The idea of putting what the record number is, once you establish that record number, like the NOI 23. Okay, so if you put that in the parentheses or in some way, shape, or form, link that in your agenda, then anybody and everybody will know where that is and be able to find it. That's really, really good. One of the things that you sort of whipped through just a minute ago was being able to access NOIs or RDAs or whatevers by that first as groups, but I don't know how to do that. Is that possible?
Yeah, you will not see that function because that's a function of internal users. So actual people who can view the records. That's kind of like a secret behind the scenes kind of thing.
Okay.
That the public does not have access to.
So and again, so that if there's something that is coming down the road that has been thought about or talked about, but isn't on an agenda yet, the public won't be able to see that. And that's okay. I just needed to know that.
Okay, so I think what you're saying is if I do go to that page, like 6 Acorn Street, that was submitted last week. So, no one knows that that's there except for when I post it in the agenda next week.
Right.
Yeah, that's just the way the cookie falls on this, I guess.
That's okay.
It just hasn't been processed by the department yet, so.
Okay. The other thought, the other thing that I heard tonight was that the comments have been received from the consultant about a project, but I don't find those comments on the website yet.
Yeah, so I think you're specifically talking
The
about
two on Hidden Trails, the two of them?
and that would be our peer review. Yeah, I just haven't got to posting it yet.
Okay. Okay. But those are.
They are considered public record and are available for anyone to look at.
Be posted. Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, and appreciate the opportunity to give it feedback.
All right, let's talk about RDAs. So an RDA is a request for determination of applicability. This is one of the Massachusetts wetland forms that the commission does and normally receives. And I will pull it up now. Let's see. I'm not sharing the right screen. So the RDA is a form used by applicants, and I think the best way to describe it is it's an applicant asking the commission to make a determination on a project of whether or not the proposed project is going to have an effect on the resource area. It is common to approve minor projects under an RDA, especially projects that you don't feel would need special conditioning for the goal of protecting the resource area. So, the general information of the RDA is, you have your applicant. So applicants can take out RDAs on other people's property, given that they give the owner of the property notice that it's being done. And, if there is a decision made by the commission, it has to be mailed to the owner as well. So that's why.
We had somebody who who wanted a tree on their neighbor's property taken down because it was leaning on their house. So the owner of the house could do an RDA on the tree on the neighbor yard as long as they tell the neighbor they're going to do it.
Yes, but we are not giving that person permission to cut down the tree legally. We're saying that project wouldn't or would affect the resource
But that's
area.
just an example of when a neighbor could take out an RDA.
That isn't a property owner.
That it's not the property. Okay, thank you.
Does that happen frequently? Do you,
I've had one,
Yeah.
and we denied it.
Yeah, it's pretty rare for that to happen. But sometimes you'll see under the applicant, you'll see representatives like an engineering company or something like that. So someone the property owner has hired to, take them through the permitting process. So it is common to see that as well. And, sometimes I've seen some applicants use a representative under an applicant or it's a representative. But there is a spot for either one of those. So moving down through the permit, you have a project description, street address, map and lot, which is the most accurate way to determine where a project is, and it has the area description. The area description is, it's a single-family house, maintained lawn, something along those lines, or, it's a vegetated wetland, and we're proposing, to create a path through it. So then there are plan and references that can be used. So normally with the applications, and if someone came to the commission with a plan that is signed and stamped by an engineer, that plan is basically the proposal of work. So if you have an RDA and they say, we're proposing to, add an addition within or barely within the 100-foot buffer, and we're proposing erosion controls on that plan, that you don't have to condition that erosion controls be placed, because the plan, the reference on the plan acts as your permission to granting that project. So moving on from plan and references, you have the actual project description, what is going to happen, and if there's any exemptions to the Wetlands Protection Act where the RDA makes sense, you can fill it in spot B. The construction of fences is an exemption under the Wetlands Protection Act, but it's not an exemption under our bylaw. So normally we have seen proposals for fence construction in front of us, but because our bylaw is more strict than the actual Wetlands Protection Act, they still need to file one of those permits with us. Moving on, 3 is specifically for riverfront areas. The state has deemed that the riverfront area is, more important than the 100-foot buffer to a wetland. So on riverfront areas, you have a 200-foot buffer. And this is kind of where you would determine any exemptions to the riverfront area within the RDA. And there's a few of them, but normally you don't really see the need for exemptions other than that the house was built or recorded before 1996. And this goes into other things with agriculture and municipal projects, state and government projects as well. And then they ask for evidence of why you chose one of those exemptions. And then as we get into these are what they are asking. So determinations is what the applicant is asking the commission to actually make a decision on. So the area depicted on the plans is subject to the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act. They'd be asking if their wetland line is accurate. That's something they can do under an RDA. They can also ask if a stream is perennial or intermittent under an RDA. The boundaries of the resource area. Normally for bigger lots or bigger projects, you would see the boundaries of the resource area under an ORAD or area, oh Jesus, I'm forgetting it. You put me on the spot. An ANRAD. I will get the actual determination of those. We'll talk about ANRADs in the future. How about that? Sorry. And then you can ask if the activities that are being performed are in the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act, and you can ask if they're in the jurisdiction of the municipal bylaw.
This is making the person who fills this out totally understands that in order to answer them correctly. This is heavy duty.
Yeah, so normally what you'll see is a lot of notices of intent are, produced by engineers, someone who's been in the business and they know what they're doing. You'll see a lot of RDAs normally taken out by homeowners, and usually there's a fair amount of revisions that I send back before I actually accept the
Okay.
application.
So if they're incomplete, you will review it and take back to them. You really should have marked that.
Right, so under the Wetlands Protection Act, the commission has 21 days to act on an application at the time of receiving the application. But what starts that clock is that we actually receive a complete application.
Okay.
So if we receive an application, I look it over. If I don't feel that it's complete, I'll send it back to them. And then when we get the complete application, that's when that clock starts. And then the final page is signatures and submittal requirements. This is just saying that everything they submitted was accurate to their understanding and that they actually want to go through with the submittal. So that is the request for determination of applicability.
When we approve an RDA, there is very few things we can condition. That is one of the that's one of the issue, if soft places about an RDA. With a notice of intent, we can put conditions, but not so much as an RDA.
So you can condition an RDA, but it's a lot harder to uphold legally.
Okay.
So really, what the commission is doing with an RDA is you're saying that, the stream is intermittent or the project you've described has no effect on the resource area, and you're saying if you move forward the way that you have proposed, the commission has no problem with that project.
Okay.
That would be a negative determination. So the approval of an RDA, I'll say.
So if we say you have to put a sign saying 30-foot no activity zone, they don't have to put, you have to put a sign there, we can't enforce it.
It would be very hard to enforce it.
Okay.
And representatives from, the Mass DEP would say that if you have a condition that you want to see actually enacted or in perpetuity, that you don't do it under the RDA.
You bring in
You would do it under a notice. Right.
So that's one of the things to consider between an RDA or a notice. If there are some restrictions we want to put in, then we ask for notice of intent. Because we want to put in some specific requirements.
Some actual conditions.
Yeah.
I would say, like, if we were looking at a project and they didn't have erosion controls, I think that's something that you could argue that is acceptable in an RDA, because if, let's say we move forward, we say, we condition that they need erosion controls, and they start the project and they don't put up the erosion controls, we can actually take enforcement against, the lack of erosion controls if it's, sediment into a resource area, so.
Even if we didn't say it at the time of approval?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an understanding under the Wetlands Protection Act that you can add sediment to.
From the state?
Right.
Yes, okay.
So, that is an enforceable.
Questions? Clarifications?
So I'm thinking the RDA is almost like a hypothetical. They're coming and saying, if we were to do X, Y, and Z, can we or can we not, and why, right? Is that it?
I wouldn't
But
say
it's
so
not
much
as-
of a hypothetical, because you can permit projects under the
You
RDA.
can, so they could just skip an NOI altogether and just do it, but come with an RDA and then proceed with, if you give them order of conditions?
So the RDA gets a determination of applicability.
okay.
That's the DOA.
Oh, that's the piece of thing they.
So that is the order of
Acronym.
conditions to an RDA. And that's where you make the decision of, a -2 or a +3 or.
Do you have a little chart that shows those numbers, how you determine the different?
No.
I know negative is good, but.
Don't have a chart, but it's pretty easy to understand when you actually look at the determination of applicability.
Okay.
I can pull that up. I mean,
A schematic, something that's like, the numbers are, to me, the numbers are just so abstract.
right, yeah, you guys, what's a -2
Like
versus a
what?
-5 versus, I totally understand.
That'd be great to have that.
Well, I think at our next meeting, do we want to talk determinations of applicability?
Yep, I think we're getting close to 8 o'clock, so we ask questions around the board, we might very well find it's time to go. Okay,
but-
Autumn.
No questions, thank you.
No questions, thank you.
No questions. Good, thanks. None here?
None for me.
Thank you.
You're
I mean, it's
welcome.
just, they come before us, what do you mean negative? And very concerned and whatever, but it helps.
Right, the easy way to explain it is, a negative determination under an RDA is saying that you don't need to proceed with a notice of intent. A positive determination is, your project is too involved and you need a
And we
notice of
deny it
intent.
as an RDA, if you want to go forward, bring in a notice of intent.
Correct.
So positive is not a good thing. Positive means they have to do more work and cost more money.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Can somebody at 7:54?
54.
Okay, 7:56. Somebody? I have a motion at 7:56.
Second?
And I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Pause. Thank you.